Hello everyone, welcome back in our another Python project. And in this Python project, we are going to create a complete mobile phone application using Python Kivy. Yes guys, in this Python project, we are going to create this calculator using Python. We can download this application in our mobile phone, we can install this application, and also we can use this application for our regular calculation. And in this Python project, we are going to see how to build a complete mobile phone application completely from scratch using Python Kivy. And if you are a beginner, then don't worry guys, I will show you every process step by step. But before we start this Python project, if you guys are new in my channel, then please subscribe, like this video and press the bell icon for the future videos. And if you guys have any question about this video, please let me know in my comment section. Okay, we are going to create this Python application using Python Kivy. And if you guys don't know what is Kivy, Kivy is an open source Python library for rapid development of applications that make use of innovative user interface such as multi-touch apps. And this library is so helpful because it is cross-platform, business-friendly, and GPU accelerated. Now for creating this application, you don't need to be a pro. I will show you every process step by step. And here is the important thing. Please guys, don't skip this tutorial. Because if you miss something, then your app or your application will not work. That's why guys, pay attention throughout this entire video. And now, together, let's create a mobile phone application. Open your favorite code editor. In my case, I am using PyCharm. And in your code editor, create a project folder, or you can say a file directory like this one. I have created a file directory named as calculator. Now simply click Write, New, and then click Python file. Now you have to add a name, and my file name will be main.py, and then type enter. And after creating your project folder and your Python file, now we have to install Kivy in our computer, and there are many ways to install Kivy. If you want to install Kivy using your CMD, then in your CMD you just have to type pip install Kivy and then type enter. And in a few moments Kivy will be installed in your computer. And in my case, here you can see that I have already installed Kivy module in our computer. Now there is another way to install Kivy, and that is just go to the file and then go to setting, and then here you will find your project folder name. So my project folder name is calculator, so just open this folder and here you will find a project interpreter. Now double click on this project interpreter, and here you will find all the installed libraries in your computer. Now for installing Kivy in your computer, just click this plus icon, and then here you have to search by Kivy. And here you can see that we have a Kivy module. Now select this module and then simply click on install package. After clicking on this button, your Kivy module will be installed in your computer. Since I have already installed this in my computer, I don't have to install this anymore. Okay, after successfully installing Kivy module in our computer, now we have to initialize, or you can say we have to add some components from our Kivy. And here you can see that I have imported some components from our Kivy. Here you can see that from kivy.app, I am going to import the app module. And from kivy.uix.box_layout, I am going to import box layout. And from our kivy.uix.button, I am going to import our button. Because in our calculator, we have to add so many buttons. And from our kivy.uix.textInput, import text input. Okay, after importing all the necessary components, now we have to start creating our application. So for creating our application using Kivy, first we have to define a class. So that's why class, and then we have to add a class name. You can choose any class name you want, and I will be choosing main app. And inside our main app parameter, we have to call our app which we have imported from our kivy.app. Okay, and inside this class we have to define a constructor. So def, then we have to add a constructor name and it will be build. And inside this build parameter we are going to pass our self. Okay, inside this constructor we have to create some variables, and all those variables will be responsible by ourselves. So each time we declare a new variable, first we have to add the self. Okay, suppose I want to create a new variable called operators, and inside this operators variable I am going to add all the operators like division, multiplication, addition, etc. And I am going to add all these operators inside an array. So for defining an array, just add these brackets. First I am going to add the division, then I am going to add the multiplication, then I am going to add the addition, and at last subtraction. That's it. Now here you can see that we have created a new variables which is operators, and inside this operators variable I am going to add all the operators. Now each time we create a new variable, that variable will be responsible by the self. So that's why we have to add self. That's it. Okay, here you can see that we have created a class, we have defined a constructor, and inside this constructor we have created a variable. And inside this class we are going to create few more constructors like this one. And after creating all the constructors and functions, we have to run this app. So for running this app, we have to use if _name = _main, and our app will be main app. Then we have to run our app. Guys, here you can see that we have imported some libraries. We are creating our application, and then we are running our application. Now let's run this program and see what we can have as an output. Now let's go to our run and click run from here, and then select main. And here you can see that our Kivy module is running, and here you can see that we have a black screen. And inside this black screen we are going to create our application. Okay, for now close this application, and now inside this class we have to create our application. Now let's start creating everything one by one. If I run this application, here you can see that we have a black screen, and the name of this black screen is main, and then we have a default icon here, and this default icon is from Kivy module. Now suppose you want to change the icon and you want to add an icon by yourself. You can do that also. So for doing that, close this application. Just click on the project folder, then click right, and then click on show in Explorer. And here you can see that we have a calculator folder. Open this folder, and inside this folder we have to add two images. One will be our calculator.png and another will be calculator/.png. Every time you create an application using Kivy, you have to add two different images. Here you can see that our first image will be for our icon, our app icon, and our second image will be for our opening screen. And if I show you the properties of our first image, and then if I go to the details, remember this dimension. Here you can see that it is 256 by 256. You have to remember this dimension. And if I show you the properties of our second image, our opening screen, and if I go to the details, and here you can see that we have a different dimension, 512 by 512. You have to remember this dimension. Okay, now for changing the icon of our screen, we just have to call ourself, then we have to call our icon. And here you can see that in our project folder I have two different images. One is calculator.png and another one is calculator/.png. Now I'm going to add the calculator.png. That's it. Now if I run this program, and here you can see that beside our main we have our own icon. That's it, guys. Okay, so after creating our icon and operators, now we have to create some more variable. So that's why call ourselves, and the new variable name will be last underscore was underscore operator, and it will be none. I'm going to use this operator later on our code, but for now leave this operator. Now let's create another operator, self dot last underscore button, and it will be also none. That's it. Okay, so after creating our all the variables, now we have to create another variable which is main layout, and for our main layout we have to use our box layout, and inside the box layout we have to use the orientation, and it will be vertical. For now leave this parameter. We are going to discuss about this parameter later on our code. After this one, let's call ourselves again, and now we have to create our screen. It means if we do any calculation, we are going to show those calculation or those result inside a screen. So for creating the screen, we are going to create a new variable, and it will be solution. And for creating our solution, we are going to need our text input. Okay, so inside our text input, first of all, I am going to use a background color. And the background color will be black. And then I am going to use a font color. So that's why it will be foreground color. And it will be white. That's it. Inside our text field, we are going to use other properties also. But for now, leave this with our these two properties. Now let's create our main layout variable, and then we are going to add widget, and inside our add widget we have to call our self dot solution. That's it. It means inside our main layout we are going to pass our self and our solution. Now let's create our buttons, and inside our this buttons variable I am going to add our all the buttons. So for adding our all the buttons, let's create an array, and we are going to start adding the buttons from the top left, and from the top left our first button will be 7, then 8, then 9, then the division operator. Close our array, and then inside this array we have to create another array. It means we are going to create nested array. It means inside a parent array we can add multiple arrays, and it is called nested array. So the second line will be the same. Just copy this one and then paste it here. That's it. Now this one will be 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. It will be decimal point, 0, and C. Now let's change the operator also. It will be multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Okay guys, inside our buttons variable we have added our all the buttons. Now we have to insert our these buttons inside our that black screen. So for adding these buttons inside that black screen, we have to write a for loop. So let's create a for, and it will be row in buttons. Then we have to create a variable, and it will be edge underscore layout. Then we have to call our box layout. Now for our each of these buttons, we are going to create different levels. So for creating our those levels, we have to create another for loop, and it will be level in row. Now let's create a button variable, then call our button, and our each of this button name will be according to our level name. So the text will be level, then I will use a font size, and it will be 30. Then I will add a background color, and it will be gray. Now we have to position these buttons in the center of our button. So that's why we have to add position hint, then create a curly braces, and inside these curly braces first we have to center from the X. So that's why center underscore X, and it will be 0.5. Then we have to center from the Y also, and it will be also 0.5. That's it. Now we have to insert these buttons inside our H layout. So that's why just call our H layout, then add widget, and it will be button. Then we have to insert this H layout inside our main layout. So that's why simply delete one space and then call our main layout, then add widget, and it will be H layout. And please guys, be careful with these white spaces. If you don't follow these white spaces, your program will not run. Please follow these white spaces. Okay. Now after creating our buttons, we have to make these buttons working. Or you can say we have to make these buttons functional. So every time we press each of these buttons will run a function. So that's why just call our button dot bind. It means if anyone type a button, it will run a function. So that's why it will be on underscore press. Then we have to create a function. But first we have to call ourselves, and then we have to add a function name. So the function will be on underscore button underscore press. Here you can see that we have created one function. We have to define this function later on our code. Okay, so after creating our number buttons, now we have to make our equal button also working. So that's why let's create a variable, and it will be equal underscore button, and then call our button, and inside our button we have to simply copy these properties, then paste it here, but instead of label it will be equal. That's it. Now after creating our equal button variable, now we have to bind this variable with a function. So that's why call our equal button, then bind this button, and if anyone press our equal button, it will run a function. But first we have to call ourselves dot, and we have to create a new function name, and it will be on underscore solution. That's it. And then we have to also add this equal button inside our main layout. So that's why call our main layout, and then add widget, and it will be equals button. Then we have to return the main layout. Okay, so after creating the layout, now we have to create the function. We have to make the function working. Here you can see that we have created two different functions. One is on button press and another one is on solution. Now let's work on our on button press function. So that's why define our function, and inside this function I'm going to pass ourselves and instance. Now every time if anyone click on these buttons, I want these button values to be showing in the screen, okay, in the calculator screen. So that's why we have to create a variable, and it will be current, and every time if anyone press a button, we have to show that button values inside the screen. So that's why call ourselves dot, and then we have created a solution, and the solution will be in text format. Then we have to create another variable, and it will be button underscore text, and the button text will be instance dot text. That's it. Now if you guys remember, we have a clear button also inside our calculator. Now we have to make this clear button also working. So that's why let's create a if. It means our button text double equal to C. It means if anyone type our clear button, we have to simply clear our screen. And right now our screen is this one. and our screen will be empty. That's it. Now suppose in our screen we already have typed one operator. Now if anyone wants to type another operator, then we cannot add that operator with our first operator. It means in our screen, if we already have an operator existing, then we cannot add other operators. So that's why we are going to create a else value, and inside this else value we have to create a if value, and it will be current, and then we have to add another parameter. Now if you guys remember, in the beginning of our application we have created a last was operator variable. Now call that variable and then call our button text also in self dot operators, and it will be return none. Let me explain you this statement again. Suppose if we already have an operator inside our screen, and then if anyone wants to type another operator after that, then we cannot add that second operator with our first operator. So that's why if we already have an operator inside our screen, and then if anyone types another operator, then we cannot show any operator or anything inside the screen. And then we have to add another condition. So that's why let's call else if. Suppose our screen is empty, and if anyone wants to type an operator first, then we will not show anything inside the screen, because first character in the screen should be always a number, not an operator. Okay, so that's why we have to implement that statement, and it will be current. If our current is empty and our button text is a operator, then we will not show anything and it will return none. Now we have to create another condition. Suppose if our these two condition is not matching, if our user is typing a number at the first character, also if our user is not typing two operators at once, then our these two condition will be false. So that's why we have to create another condition to execute, and this one will be else. And we have to create a new variable, and our new text will be replaced by the current text and the button text. Then our self dot solution dot text will be our new text. Okay, if our these two condition is not matching, that means our this condition will be true. And in our screen we have to create a new variable, and inside that new variable we are going to store the current value and the typed button value, and we are going to add these two value inside a new variable, and this new variable will be stored in our screen. After that we have to set, or you can say we have to clear our variables. So that's why call our self, and the last button will be our button text, then call our self again, then our last was operator will be the self last button in our self operators. That's it guys. Now here you can see that we have successfully defined our first function, which is on button press. So after our this function, now we have to make our this function working, which is on solution. So for our this function, let's define that function first, and inside this function we are going to pass our self and instance. Then we have to create a variable which is text, and then first we have to call our screen. So that's why let's call our self solution, and the format will be text. Then we have to create a condition if text, and inside our this condition everything will be true. Okay, so that's why let's create a new variable, and it will be solution, and our result will be in a string format. So that's why it will be str, and then we have to evaluate our answer. So that's why we are going to use a built-in function which is eval, and inside this function we have to call our self dot solution dot text, and then our self dot solution dot text will be our final solution. That's it guys, we have also defined our second function. That's it guys. Now if I run this program, and here you can see that we have our calculator. Here you can see that we have a black screen and then we have our all the buttons. Now if I type any button, here you can see that that button value is showing in the top left of our screen. And now let's see if this operators is working or not. Here you can see that our operators is now working. And our C button is also working. Now let's make some changes. Here you can see that this text is too small. I want to increase the size of this text. Also I want this text to be a start from our right side, not from the left side. So I will make these changes. So for making these changes, let's go to the top. Here you can see that in our self.solution, in our text input, we have only 2 properties. Now I'm going to add more properties inside this parameter, and our next value will be multiline. And our multiline will be false because I don't want this text to break down and start from the next line. I don't want 2 or 3 lines inside this screen. I want only 1 line. So that's why multiline will be false. Then I want those text should be a start from the right side. So that's why it will be H align and it will be right. Now if I run this program and if I type anything, here you can see that those text is now starting from the right side. Okay. So after this one, now I will add a font size, and the font size will be 55. Now let's run this program again. And if I type anything, here you can see that we have a bigger text inside our screen. Now inside our screen, here you can see that now anyone can click, okay? They can select the text, they can click the text, also they can delete the text. But I don't want to do that. I want this screen to be unclickable. It means no one can click, no one can select anything from our screen. So for disabling that clicking function, we will use another property which is read only, and it will be true. That's it. Now if I run this program again and if I type anything, here you can see that we cannot delete anything from this screen. It means inside this screen, this value will be constant. We cannot change these values by clicking the clear button from our keyboard. If we want to clear this text, we have to simply click on this button. That's it guys. Here you can see that we have successfully created our calculator using Kivy. Now for your better understanding, I will recap this program once again. In our first portion, here you can see that we have imported some necessary components from our Kivy, and then we are creating a class which is main app. And for running this class, we are calling our main function, and then we are calling our app. And inside this class, we have some defined constructor, and inside this constructor, we have to pass the self. And inside our constructor, we have to write all the variables and all the functions. Here you can see that self.icon is for changing the icon of our screen. And then we are initializing our operators inside a operators variable. And inside our array, we have all the operators. And then we are creating 2 default variable. One is our last was operator and another one is last button, and both of these values is none. Then we are creating a main layout, and inside this main layout we are creating our box layout, and this box layout is having orientation vertical. If I run this program, here you can see that our components is now in vertical. If I change this to horizontal, and if I run this program, here you can see that our complete layout of our calculator is now changed. Everything is now in horizontal, but I don't want everyone to be in horizontal. I want to change this layout, and it will be vertical. Now if I run this program, here you can see that our calculator layout is now in vertical position. Okay, so after our vertical, now first we have to create our screen, our calculator screen, and inside this screen we are using a text input, and for making our text input a little bit beautiful, we are using all of these properties. After creating our text input, we are adding our screen inside our main layout, and we are adding our these variables as a widget. Okay, after our screen, we are creating our buttons, and we are creating a nested array for our buttons, and inside this nested array we are adding our all the buttons. And now inside our calculator we have to add our these buttons. So for adding our this button, we have to use a for loop. We are using level. So for each level we are using our different buttons, and for making our these buttons beautiful, we are adding some properties inside our button, and then we are making our button functional using a function which is on button press. Okay, so after adding the buttons and after initializing a function, now it is time to add those buttons inside our layout. After our buttons, now we have our equal buttons left. So for making our equals button looking good, we have also added some properties for our equal button, and then we will run a function every time we press on the equal button, and then we are adding our equal button inside our main layout. Then we are returning our main layout. After adding all the components inside our calculator, now it is time to make our these functions working. So that's why we are defining our that function. We are passing our self and instance. Then we are creating an initial value for our screen and for our button. Now if anyone types the C button, or you can say clear button, I want our screen to be cleared, so that's why it will be empty. And suppose in our screen we already have an operator, and if anyone wants to type another operator after the first operator, then we are returning none. It means we cannot return anything if an user types two different operators or two operators at one time. And after this one we have another condition. If our screen is empty, then user cannot type operators as first character. And if they do that, we are returning none. And if our these two function is false, it means if we don't have two different operators or two operators in our screen, and if we don't have operators as first character, we have our new text, and our new text will be combination of our current text and the typed button text, and we are going to store our this value inside our screen. So after our screen, now we have to set the default values for our buttons and operators, and after our this function, we have to work on our second function which is on solution, and it will pass the self and instance. And we have to create a text variable, and inside our variable we have to add our screen, and inside our this condition everything will be true, and our final solution will be in a string value. But first we have to evaluate our previous value, and then we have to convert that values in string mode, and then we have to store our final result inside our screen. That's it. And after creating our application, if I run, here you can see that we have a complete working application, and this application is working perfectly. That's it. This is only a script, okay? Not a functional application. It means we cannot install this script in our mobile phone. So for installing our this script, first we have to convert this script into an working application. So for converting this Python script into an application, we are going to use another Python library which is buildozer. So for the further process, we are going to use another platform which is called Google Colab. Now if you are a beginner and don't know anything about Google Colab, then don't worry, I will provide you the link of this Google Colab in the description. You just have to follow my steps, and after following my steps, you are going to create your application which you can install in your mobile phone. Okay, there are many reasons behind using the Google Colab. Because if your computer is not good enough, if your computer configuration is not good enough, then you can use Google Colab. Because for this script to app conversion process, it takes a lot of space and it needs to install a lot of libraries. And if you don't want to install those libraries in your computer, then you can use Google Colab. And the Google Colab is pretty fast. You don't have to install any other libraries for converting your script to an application. Okay, so now let's start the conversation process. First, here you can see that we have to install our buildozer, and then we have to install our this Python version. Then we have to also install some other libraries. Okay, but first we have to install our this one. So for installing our this buildozer, we have to simply click on our this icon. And now here you can see that it is installing our all the requirements. Okay, now it is done. Here you can see that we have a tick icon, and this tick icon is saying that our this process is done. After this one, we have to run our this command. After it is completed, run our this command. This process is also done. Scroll down and then run this process. And here you can see that they are installing a lot of libraries, and that is the main reason why I am using Google Colab. Okay, this command is also done. Now scroll down and run this command. This one is also done. Run this one. Okay, this one is also done. Now here you can see that we have our main command, which is buildozer init. After running our this command, this process will generate a new file in here. Okay. Now let's run this program, and it will ask for your confirmation. Type here and type Y and then enter. And here you can see that they are saying file buildozer.spec created. It means they generated a new file. Here you can see that we have our that file. If you cannot see this file, just click right and then refresh. After refresh, you will see this file. Now, before we talk about more about this file, there is an important thing to do. Let's go to our project file. Here you can see that we have two images. Now we have to drag these two images and then drop our here, and they will send you a reminder. Just click OK. That's it. And here you can see that our these two image is now uploaded. Now in our buildozer.spec file, we have to edit this file. Okay, we have to edit some information from this file. So that's why just double click this file, and here you can see that we have our app, and here is our title. So by default it is my application. You can change the name, and I want to change the title name, and it will be calculator. Okay, now after this one, just scroll down, and in our line 39, here you can see that we have our requirements, and in our requirements here you can see that we have two modules given here. Now we have to make some changes inside the requirements. First of all, here you can see that we have Kivy, but we have to define the latest version of Kivy, which is 2.0.0. So that's why we have to add double equal then 2.0.0, then add a comma. Now I will add another module from Kivy, which is kivymd. Then I will add another module which is pillow. That's it. Okay, so after adding our all the requirements, now scroll down a little bit. Here you can see that we have pre-splash of the application. It means our opening screen of our application. If anyone click the application in our mobile phone, then we want to show a opening screen. Okay, so I have an image for that. Here you can see that I have a calculator, a splash.png. Now I will simply rename this file and select the full file name. Copy this, and here you can see that we have pre-splash file name, and this file name is actually with a comment. First we have to remove the comment. That's it. And then here you can see that after s, then we have a slash. After that slash, just remove this thing and then paste the file name, which is calculator splash.png. Okay, so after our opening screen, now we have our icon of the application. And here you have to add an icon image for your application. And for that I have an image also, which is calculator.png. So I will rename this one, select the complete text and copy. First we have to remove the comment. And after our S, we have to add the icon image name. That's it. So in our this buildozer.spc, you have to make 4 changes. One is we have to change the icon of our application. Then we have to add an opening screen for our application. Then we have to make some changes in our requirements. Then you have to change the title of your application. After this one, just click the close button. Okay, so after editing our buildozer.spec file, now let's go to our project folder, and from here just drag our main.py file and then drop it here. And here you can see that our main.py file is now uploaded. Now one thing you have to remember, your Python script should be always named as main.py. Okay, always your Python file name should be main.py. Okay, now after this one, let's run our final command. And this will ask for your confirmation. Type Y and enter. And here you can see that the conversation process is started. Now they are downloading some files and some libraries so that they can convert your script into an application, and this process can take some time. Basically it takes 10 to 15 minutes to convert that file into an working application. And guys, here you can see that finally our process is done, and it is saying Android packaging done. And then they have created a bin folder. Now open our folder, and guys, congratulations, you just have created a complete working application using Python Kivy. Now you just have to download this APK file in your computer and then rename this APK file as calculator, and then save this file in your computer. And guys, here you can see that we have successfully downloaded our calculator.apk file in our computer. Now let's transfer this file in our mobile phone and then install it in your mobile phone. Now if you are installing this file in your mobile phone for the first time, then you may need to give some additional access. Give all of this access and then install it in your mobile phone. After installing it in your mobile phone, you will find a calculator in your mobile phone. Now open this calculator, and here you can see that we have our opening screen. And there you go, we have our calculator. And this calculator is completely working. We can do all of our regular calculation inside this calculator. Congratulations guys, you just have created a complete working application for your mobile phone, step by step, completely from scratch. And now you can use this calculator for solving your regular calculation. That's it guys. In this Python project, we have learned how to create a mobile phone application using Python. And then we have also learned how to convert a Python script into a working mobile phone application. So that's it guys. I hope you guys learned something new from this tutorial. And if you guys really do, then please subscribe, like this video and press the bell icon for the future videos. And if you guys have any question about this video, please let me know in my comment section. That's it guys. Let's see you in our another Python project.